Yo, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again with another disturbing Jay SLATER video. I hope every single one of you are doing well. In the last video, we were debunking a part of the recent live stream that these guys done, some fraudulent activities that were taking place on there. And we just had to kind of show the true reality of what was going on. Make sure you go and check out the last video if you haven't seen it. We are yet to get back and debunk more of the BS that those guys were talking in that live stream. In fact, in this video, we will touch on a part of what was said in that live stream. But in today's video, there are a few things that I want to share with you, a few things that I want to bring to your attention. I want to get your thoughts, your opinions, all in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys hit the like button and let's check this out. Okay, cool. So I just want to run through a few videos, a few interesting things that I want to share with you. Big up Lola because she's non-stop posting on TikTok. Make sure you guys go and follow her if you're on there. But I want to start with this one, this video of Chris, and it's pretty interesting. Let's see what he's got to say.
If Jay had just had a hangover and, you know, he'd have just been tired, he wouldn't have made some of those decisions that he made.
If he would have just had a hangover, he would have been tired, implying that Jay was on drugs. Now, the problem we have is that there was never a toxicology report done. Here we have Chris Tenerife implying that Jay was on more than just alcohol, but there wasn't a toxicology report done. So there's no way of verifying if Jay was actually on more than just alcohol. I know we have the Scottish lad that said, look, I know people that are on pills. Looking at Jay, looking at the state of Jay, it looked like he had been taking pills. The only slight problem I have with that comment is if Jay was taking pills, why wasn't anyone else that was with Jay also taking pills? You're telling me out of the whole gang, Jay was the only one on his first holiday taking pills by himself? Now, being on an island like Tenerife, of course, that strip is going to be flooded with various different drugs. But are we really going to blame Jay at this point and say Jay was the only one that was on pills? They're the reasons as to why he would have made the decisions that he made the following morning. See, if the friends knew Jay was on pills and Jay was acting a certain type of way, why would they split up and leave him with strangers? Why would there not be more support to ensure that Jay gets home safely? No one else is moving like Jay. Jay's the only one that's waved out of his face. Jay's the only one that looks like he's on the verge of collapsing. But somehow at that point, the friends decide just to leave him by himself. He'll figure things out. Don't worry, he'll figure it all out. We're going to go off on our own thing. And along comes Abe, sees this guy sitting on the street by himself and says, you know what, lads? I remember seeing you with one of my mates. You know what? Get in the car, I'll take you to the mountains. See, even Jay getting into the car, going to the mountains, what would have convinced Jay to get into that car? Why would Jay just walk off and get into the car with people he doesn't even know, although he would have had enough battery on his phone to contact Brad, Brandon, Lucy, his mum, his dad, a cab? So many options could have been exercised at that point, but they're not. And even other options that would have been more sensible than taking Jay to an Airbnb after seeing him in the state that he's in, like taking him to his hotel or calling him a cab to get him to his hotel, or even calling his friends to say, look, where are you guys at? Come and pick this guy up. See, those three options there should have been exercised before Jay gets himself into a car and travels half an hour to 45 minutes across the islands to a secluded area like Mascot. It was a thing of Jay losing his key, then his friend taking the key and going to his hotel, and then Jay saying, look, mate, I've got nowhere to go. Come on, I need to come back to that Airbnb with you. Recently, a picture has been painted that Abe's in Hero. Sluggy, the side chick, claims that Warren and Debbie should be thanking Abe for taking Jay to the Airbnb. See, that picture right there is totally different to the one that we know. That picture right there makes you think that Jay was in danger, and that was the reason why he had to go to the Airbnb. It was the only place that was safe for him. See, I'm still struggling with the friends. I'm really struggling with how they would have split up from Jay. Is that picture of Jay in the back of the car saying that he's going to sell this alleged stolen watch for 10 quid a way of saying that Jay is split up from his friends? Because I never understood how Jay would have been in the back of the car, took that picture, put it on his Snapchat, but Abe doesn't know anything about it. He doesn't know anything about a watch. Brad doesn't know anything about it. He's not too sure if Jay would have stole a watch. Lucy doesn't know anything about it, but she claims Jay wouldn't have lied if that would have been the case. Look, one of the major common denominators in everyone's story is that they point fingers at Jay. Jay's the one to blame. Jay's the one that made these decisions. We don't know why Jay done this. We don't know why Jay done that. We don't know. We don't know. It's all on Jay. If you find him, ask him. But the maddest thing is they knew Jay was never going to be found alive. So they knew they could throw all of the blame on Jay. They could point fingers at Jay because there's no one there to defend him. You've got to think, Lucy, Bradley, and Brandon have all been cowards. None of them have taken responsibility for that evening. They've all just blamed Jay and run away.
And I think at 19 years old, you You know, he's come away, he's come with his mates, he's gone to a rave, he's enjoyed himself. He's ended up in the arsehole of Tenerife.
How did he end up in the arsehole of Tenerife? See, it's just like he went on holiday, he enjoyed himself, and then he just ended up in the arsehole of Tenerife. There's so many different narratives that are being thrown all over the place, so many different theories. But when we look at the facts, we have a picture of Jay in the back of the car claiming that he's going to sell a watch. This claim is then later denied by the likes of Ayub, who says, I don't know nothing about any watch. But what's so funny is the video that we're going to look at next, because in this video, you see Jay wearing a watch. Make sure you guys don't go anywhere. But the simple fact, Chris is kind of skirting over how Jay got from the strip to the Airbnb to the mountain is really wild. He just explains it as the arsehole of Tenerife. That can mean so many things if you are to think about it. Not only do we have Jay in the back of this car on his way to allegedly sell this watch, but another narrative that we're being told is Jay just didn't want to end his night early. So the friends are claiming that they spoke to Jay and Jay just didn't want to end his night early. So Jay decided that he's going to go off with these two strangers. Now, at that point, who would have inspired or encouraged Jay to go to the Airbnb? Ayub and Rocky claimed that there was no after party, there was no party whatsoever taking place at the Airbnb. In fact, if the video footage we see of Rocky is true, of him sleeping in the car, I'm pretty sure he would have been in a similar state to that when Jay was getting into the car. So clearly Jay would have seen that this guy's wasted. I just don't understand how Ayub finds Jay by himself. When at 1:30 in the morning, you are all together and Jay is waved out of his face. So it would be irresponsible for any one of you to leave Jay by himself in a country that he's never been to before. But none of them are going to take responsibility. None of them are going to be accountable for their actions. What they're going to say is, oh, we just split up. Oh, actually, he went off with people he already knew. And that takes me back to Jay getting into this car. What would have inspired Jay to get into the car? For me, someone that Jay knew would have had to have been there.
There was no party when he got back to the house. He was bored out of his head.
There was no party when he got back to the house. He was bored out of his head. Who told him there was a party? Who made Jay believe there was a party taking place at the Airbnb? Also got to ask yourself, why would Jay want to go and party with people he doesn't even know? After the experiences that he's gone through back home with people in his own area, this guy on islands that he's never been to before, his first holiday abroad by himself, at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, wants to go to an Airbnb and party with people he doesn't even know. Only trying to make sense based on the stories that he's been given. You also have other people in his ear talking as well, giving misinformation, in my opinion, which is also making him create this narrative that there was a party and Jay wanted to go back and, party with these strangers. That is someone giving Chris misinformation. Ayub never confirmed that Jay wanted to continue partying. The only person that has confirmed that Jay didn't want his night to end, wanted to continue partying, wanted another drink, was Brad and Rachel. They're the two that told the world, and not even told the world, they told Isla that. They've also told Chris that. They've also told other people that. They're the ones that are making it look like Jay didn't want his night to finish so soon. He wanted to go and party. Jay's friends left him, according to Ayub. They all left him.
Asleep, and he was just hungry. And
he was just hungry. That's another thing. Remember, Ayub told us he went to the kebab shop before they went to the Airbnb. Remember, Ayub originally told us that Jay left the Airbnb because he wanted to go and get scran. He wanted to go and get something to eat. What a contradiction. What a lie. Which one's the lie? Jay leaving to get scran or you stopping off at the kebab shop? All right, cool. Here we have another video of Jay that's been published recently. And I've been tagged a few times in this one. And this one's interesting. This one's extremely interesting. There's a few things that we need to kind of check out in this video. One being the watch that we can see on Jay's left hand. So Jay was wearing a watch in Tenerife whilst he was wearing the same t-shirt that he was last seen in. Now the watch looks like it's too big for him. A few links maybe need to be taken off this watch before it actually fits, but he does have a watch. So I want to take a closer look at this because we can see the watch on his left hand and behind him we can see Brad. But let's just quickly look at this video. Let's just quickly watch this. We can see Jay really engaging with his camera. Brad on the balcony smoking a cigarette, not really engaged or really interacting with what Jay's doing. And when I watch this, when I really look at this, it takes me back to what Brad said to Isla, where, you know, Jay woke up and wanted to do it all over again. Looking at this video, it does seem like Jay's really enjoying himself. But if we look at Brad, I mean, we can't really get too much from Brad, but it does look a bit distant. He does look like he's kind of deep in thought, smoking his cigarette, puffing away, contemplating a few things in his head. I don't know. But at this point, you would have thought he maybe would have engaged or interacted with Jay's camera to show that they're enjoying their holiday together. When I look at Brad in this video, I kind of get an anxious energy from him. You know, he feels a bit anxious. And if you look at the other bit of footage you see of Brad's in Tenerife with Jay, you know, when Jay jumps over that little bit, and, you know, Brad and Brandon are whispering something in each other's ear, they come across really anxious. They're coming across like, you know, they're talking about something that they don't want Jay to hear. I don't know. It just seems like Jay's, you know, an outsider. Jay isn't really involved in what they've got going on. That's how it comes across to me when I look at the footage of Jay, Brandon, Brad, Lucy. Jay's kind of like a bystander. He's just there for the sake of being there. That's kind of how it looks. Another thing we have proof of is that when Jay was in Tenerife, there was a lot of footage of him, whether it was him filming himself or whether it was someone else filming him. But the moment Jay leaves the NRG festival, gets into the car with Abe and Rocky, he takes pictures after that. But none of those pictures include him. What we can see on Jay's left arm is a watch. Now, we don't really know what watch it is. Jay's not really flaunting the watch to the camera. He's not trying to show everyone that he's got this watch on, or is he? It does look a bit like that, but he's not really trying to show it. And maybe, just maybe, he knows it's a fake watch. Now, at this point, you have to say to yourself, who other than Brad knows Jay has got a watch? I don't think Abe would know that Jay had a watch. The reason I say this is because all the footage from the night of Jay being out with Brad and Brandon and Lucy, you don't see a watch on his wrist. He has no watch on. Can 100% confirm this was from the same day, but earlier that day, which means earlier that day, Jay would have had a watch. But if Jay didn't have the watch when he went to the NRG festival, I can only assume that Jay would have left the watch at the apartment. So if Jay would have left the watch at the apartment and he knew he never had the watch on him when he went to the festival, why would he then write, I've just stolen a watch from the festival that I've been kicked out of. I'm now with 2 Marley kids and I'm going to sell it for 10 quid. You don't see the watch on him, even in the picture of him in the back of the car. Even in all of the footage that we see of him at NRG, there is no sighting of this watch. However, there is a watch. So that there makes me think whoever fabricated the picture of Jay in the back of the car must have known Jay had a watch. And that person couldn't have been Abe. That leads me to believe the person that would have fabricated the picture of Jay in the back of the car knew that Jay would have had a watch. Whether he had it with him or not with him, that person knew Jay had a watch. So they decided to use that watch as a way of making it look like Jay split up from his friends. That picture of Jay in the back of the car is a way of proving Jay split up from his friends. That's really important. Jay splitting up from his friends, finding himself in the back of a car, claiming that he stole a watch and he was traveling to sell it. This video right here, ladies and gentlemen, gives us the proof that Jay did have a watch. It also gives us the proof that there would have been only one other person at this point that knew Jay had a watch. And that person would have been Brad. He's the person at this point that would have known Jay had a watch. All right, cool. The last thing I want to talk about before I wrap this video up, and there is plenty more of this live stream that I want to get through, but I just want to kind of touch on this Shane Yerrell moment, because Shane Yerrell found himself on the live stream. And whilst on there, Shane mentioned something that made me feel some type of way. And I'm going to break that down for you right now. So let's check this out.
I think Wax has played a bit of, like, I'm not going to judge him. I don't like to say anything negative about anyone, but like, I think he's played a game, which is obviously like try to play that he's got this friendship with Warren, which is not really I don't want to say too much, but that's not really the case.
Okay, you don't want to say too much, but that's not really the case. I mean, you said everything you needed to say. Well, let me help you understand, Shane. That has never been the case. And I'm not too sure why you have gone onto this live stream and made that accusation. All I have done is let the community know that Warren Slater followed me. From that moment on, me and Warren communicated via DMs. And all I was doing was letting my community and letting the Jay Slater community, the people that are really invested, really care about finding out what truly happened to Jay, letting them know that Warren is still looking for answers. Warren is still seeking justice. Let me tell you who made it look like Warren was my friend. The people that you are sitting on the panel with, they're the ones that made it look like Warren was my friend. I never said Warren was my friend. Are you friends with everyone that you follow on TikTok? There was not one time in any of my videos where I claimed me and Warren were mates, me and Warren were friends. I wasn't trying to play no game with no one. In fact, all I was doing, Shane, is exactly what you was doing. So you're sitting on a panel with people that you don't really know. And I can tell you now, after the thorough investigations that I have personally done, you are sitting on a panel with people who have been manipulating the story from day one up until the present day.
He made a video about me, so I'm not really involved. You know, they're just my friends. Like, I don't know.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Contradiction number one. He made a video about me. I'm not involved. They're just my friends. Shane, they're just my friends. Let's be real now. You was in hospital when you found out about Jay Slater. Through Facebook, you contacted who? Rachel, right? So you didn't know them, they're not your friends, but you wanted to help because you've got a daughter of your own. I understand that. I applaud you. I give you credit, big you up. But you then flew over to Tenerife. When you connected with Warren and Debbie, they didn't know who you were. In fact, Warren thought you was a what? A reporter. Why didn't they know who you were? Oh, is that because the person who invited you over didn't communicate that information to the family? That proves right there was a form of miscommunication. See, if you understood the reasons as to why we done that video, Shane, you would have understood that the video wasn't about you. The video was about Jay Slater. And the secondary character that we were talking about in that video would have been Rachel. The video was never about you. You were just a person that had information that allowed us to connect the dots. But right here, you say friends. When did they become your friends? Based on your logic, you said you didn't know them, you went over to help, you was on the ground helping. Through that, you spoke to the family. I guess that process led them to become your friends. That's the logic that you put down on the table to say, these are now my friends. I've gone through a similar process. Remember, Warren followed me. Warren messaged me. I then followed Warren. I then messaged Warren. We then spoke in DMs, and that would have taken place and started from August up until this year. The intentions behind those messages was for me to help understand what happened to Jay, help understand why he went to that Airbnb, help understand why he left that Airbnb. See, the problem is, Shane, Warren and Debbie don't have those answers. You'll understand that there's more at play. This isn't just an accident. And the people that you sat with on the panel in that live stream have been online and trolling anyone that talks about Jay. They've been corroborating a story behind the scenes to make it make sense, to make their stories make sense. And they still can't even make their stories make sense. That's how bad it is. Because when something's a lie, Shane, it's always going to be a lie. You can never go back and tell us the truth. Your stories are always going to change. There's always going to be something different that you mention. Another thing that I can say that you guys have in common is that all of your relationships tie back to Rachel. None of you are connected to Debbie. None of you are connected to Warren. You are all connected to Rachel. And there's a reason for that. I think I said enough. But rightly so, I felt some type of way when Shane tried to tell the world that I was making it look like Warren was my friend. It's funny how you say such a thing when you don't even know them really, but you claim that they're your friend. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, a few videos there just to kind of give you an understanding of where I'm at, my feelings at this moment in time, what I'm thinking. Yeah, we've still got so much more content to run through. I'm still going to do clips of those live streams, so make sure you don't go anywhere. Make sure you hit the like button. Do subscribe to this channel if we are newly watching. Turn your notification bells on so you don't miss out on future videos, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.